Hi, this is Mike from Nascent Startups, where we're focused on answering the question, you've got an idea for a tech startup, now what? The goal of Nascent Startups is to explore answers to this question. But in this post, I want to talk about what is not an answer to this question. Fake it till you make it. If you've got an idea for a tech startup and you're wondering what to do, please do not try to fake it till you make it. Historically, fake it till you make it was tried and true advice. Founders needed to convince customers and partners and investors to believe in the founder's vision, to believe that this idea is a good idea. And you can still see this historical anachronism today. Last year, there were at least 24 pitch competitions. And how many accelerators end in demo days to investors? All of these activities are targeted at securing investment because it used to be the most important thing, but it no longer is. I believe that we've reached the end of the era of fake it till you make it. And the sooner you, as a founder, understand this shift, the more successful you're going to be. Underpinning the shift is a core insight that underlies all of nascent startups. Here at Nascent Startups, we defined a nascent stage startup as the kernel of an idea, but no customers, no product, and no funding. Whereas an early stage startup has initial customers, product, and funding. So why now? Why is it insightful to make this distinction now between early stage and nascent stage, but it wasn't 20 years ago or 10 years ago? Well, Moore's Law has been happening for decades. Compute, technology, everything keeps getting cheaper. But I believe that there was an important inflection point that happened on April 23rd, 2015. That was the date that Amazon first released standalone revenue results for AWS, for Amazon Web Services, which showed demonstrably how affordable compute and technology had become. And this affordability caused a big reset in the priorities of founders. So forever, founders have had to worry about at least 5 things. If you're a founder, you need to build a product that solves a problem. You need a market of customers that have that problem. You need a team to build that business with you. You need a way to access your customers, and you need funding to pay for all of this. Up until April 2015, funding was the most important priority for a founder. The first thing we would do 20 years ago is put together a pitch deck and try to get investors to give us that angel round of, maybe it's $50K, maybe it's $100,000 or $200,000. It's a small amount of money, but I don't have $100,000, $200,000 to invest in a startup, and you probably don't either. I still talk to founders today who believe that they need to raise that $100,000 angel round, and they don't. Historically, you could have everything else lined up, but funding was the rate limiting step. It was the bottleneck. If you as a founder couldn't secure around $100,000 of angel funding, and you very likely did not have that kind of money sitting around in your bank account, then you couldn't get started on your startup because you wouldn't be able to buy the server space and pay for the engineers to write the code. One friend I spoke to highlighted his experience where he said, back in 2007, he worked with a team for months writing software to be able to accept credit card payments. And until he was able to complete that software, he couldn't launch a startup. Today, that same capability is a Stripe integration that takes a founder a few hours to build. There's been a dramatic shift in how much technology you can buy for the same dollar amount of money. Before April 2015, a founder could have everything else locked down, but without funding, they couldn't start their business. That meant that investors historically have been gatekeepers to creating a startup. And because the investors were the most important, because they were the gatekeepers, the goal for founders was to make their startup appear as compelling and accomplished as possible. The culture of entrepreneurship basically motivated founders to be pufferfish. They had to be really large, even if it was mostly hot air, built with smoke and mirrors. Before April 2015, founders benefited from the ambiguity between nascent stage and early stage. There was no value for a founder to say to an investor, hey, I've got the kernel of an idea, but no customers and no product. So, Mr. Investor, would you give me some funding? That's a surefire way not to get funding. But I believe that there's this huge shift ever since April 2015. There's a new rate limiting step. Of the 5 things that founders are worried about, product and customers and team and accessibility and funding, the new rate limiting step is searching for and discovering a new market of customers. Founders are trying to have a breakthrough in discovering a new type of customer. Steve Blank's classic customer discovery. At the nascent stage today, funding just isn't very important. However, if you're a founder and you ask an investor to please be your gatekeeper, they'll do it. They're going to give you an answer, and likely it's going to be no. I'm here to say that you're kind of like Dorothy in The Wizard of Oz with your ruby slippers. You've had the power all along to set your own journey. You don't need to rely on anyone else. So the end of fake it till you make it is phenomenal for founders. It means you can stop lying to yourself, and instead you focus on pursuing the truth. Entrepreneurship is hard enough. The end of fake it till you make it is a major simplification that will result in happier founders and less bullshit, which can only be good for everyone. I want to give a shout out to John Korshin from Pilot 44 for helping me find focus on this Nascent Startups project. There's a lot of ideas in nascent startups, and the emphasis on which ideas we want to highlight is really going to drive audience engagement, how enjoyable this all is, and whatnot. There's a lot that I'm hoping to create with nascent startups. We've got our anti-playbook and a quantified pain histogram and other tools for founders at the nascent stage. But those tools are probably going to change over time, and their utility is definitely going to be different for different types of founders. What will remain the core of nascent startups is this broader methodology where we're seeking answers to the question, you got an idea for a tech startup, now what? In other words, as a founder with a nascent stage startup, what's your best first step? As long as you're interested in those questions, I hope you'll stick with me for this journey. Like, subscribe, share, let folks know. If you're a founder with just an idea, no customers, no product, no funding, come join the party. The water's good.